gotcha. All right.
Yeah, because I'm
I
gonna
think
be.
this is
I'm
episode 12 of Comics That Influence.
Sounds good.
We're recording.
All right, hey Kurt, how's it going? I think you got a package there, and I have a
I do.
stack. So who's gonna go first today?
Oh, you're going first because you got to leave the unwrapping to last.
Right. So yesterday I was in New York City and I attended the High School of Art and Design's Comic Con, which they call Fanfare. They have once a year. They're back to normal after the pandemic. They have hundreds of tables of young artists who go to the school, and then professional artists and dealers and tables and all kinds of vendors and stuff. So when I was making the rounds, um, I I spoke to this very interesting artist named Celia Kahl or Celia Kaye. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. We spoke for a long time. She's an amazing artist. I flipped through her portfolio and I really love her style. She's got a very kind of like fashion conscious, very kind of exaggerated, kind of expressionist style, but at the same time, she's got a lot of like real comic book fundamental basic skills on display. I wish you could see her portfolio, but check out the name Celia Cal, and we're going to do. I got an autographed copy here. This is the first edition of her comic, and it looks like it's called Speed Pussy and the Pink Torpedo. I have no idea what it's about, but it says Hot Rods Monsters Revenge. So that's like a B movie sensibility right there. And
Can't lose with that.
yeah, so I figured let's go through maybe the first half of the book and give people an example of what it looks like, and we'll leave the last half in case no spoiler alerts. It looks like a comic publishing group called Orange Phantasm, and she did say that there was a guy who wrote this stuff. So she was kind of like executing the art. It's written and created by Steve Schumacher, who hired her apparently, or they're collaborating. And they have some other assistants here. First run, premiere edition, and here we see some storytelling of this style here. Nice lettering. The letters are done by Carlos Mangual. And now we're getting into this kind of like hot rod scene where there's like these people cheering in a bleacher, and there's a lot of cars here, and look what they did. She put 3D effect. Oh, those are the pipes. Okay, I got it. Amazing. Yeah, so some real kind of stylized art here, right? Like kind of just extended faces and long drawn out exaggerated. It really reminds me kind of like a fashion design, right? Extra long legs. Things
There's
are
a famous animator, or I should say, he's rising in fame. He's done animations for was it Robot Death and Sex on
oh yeah,
Netflix.
love
His name is
section.
Robert Valley. Robert Valley is like, and he worked with Peter Chung for animation. So he has this rock and roll fashion type of slickness in
Hmm.
his work. But she's totally doing her own thing though. I'm not trying to place her
Yeah.
under Robert Valley. She's totally bringing it, and it's sweet.
Yeah, I mean, there's also a lot of story going on here, which we're not reading blow by blow, but there's some intrigue here with some characters and stuff, and you know, uh, here we have a lot of kind of like ghoulish imagery and a lot of interesting angles. Some of the stuff might be photo referenced, so we're going to
It's what the kids want.
yeah, well, Hot Rod's Revenge, and then here we see this cool diva here. She's smoking. She's got the whole waist high pants, and she's getting into the story here. So real interesting stuff. And so I'm gonna follow her. I'm not gonna show the second half in case there's any spoilers in there. But
Spoilers.
so this was my haul. There was not a lot of the interesting thing about that comic show is that it's a great place to showcase young talent. And they used to have some vendors there that were selling boxes and boxes of comics, and I used to get some deals, but not too much. So what I bought here, I probably paid too much for. And this new thing where they have virgin covers, and this there was a whole box of virgin covers. Now, what I understand that means is that there's no title, there's no masthead, there's no company, there's no, here you see the creator, he signed his thing, but you don't know what this is about. So it turns out, if you look on the back, this is Damn Them All by Boom Studios, which is, probably one of the big five, right? There's maybe after Marvel, DC, Image, Dark Horse, Boom is and Dynamite, maybe the big six, let's say. It's a pretty big studio compared, to the smaller ones. And so I picked this up. This is pretty interesting. It's got your demonic stuff. Here's a page of prose and ancient runes. And this looks like a pretty interesting story. They have some nice graffiti there. I love the quality of this. The word balloons take up a little space for me. It's a little obtrusive. Maybe if they could have shrunk the text a little and shrunk the word balloons a little. But great art. This reminds me a little here of maybe like Galassi. Some of these characters look like they're kind of like David Mazzucchelli style. People are using these Photoshop effects here. To me, it's just so obvious that it's like Photoshop blurring and stuff that I wouldn't use them in my comic, but they do make a nice visual effect. Um, Putting these things into different colors, it gives it kind of like a psychedelic feel. So this is a little Boom Studios by Charlie Adlard, and it's called Damn Them All. It kind of was like one of the best comics that I saw there, but not sure what this is all about. It looks like a lot of demonic stuff going on in the comics nowadays. I see this again and again. And here's some ads for some Boom Studio stuff. Next, I found this. Frank Frazetta's Death Dealer, so I had to grab it. I think I paid $5 for this. This is from
Are these the reboots?
Is
that a reboot?
Yeah, this is out under Opus, and so I pulled this from my collection just to compare. Compare. This was Verotic, which was
Danzig.
Glenn Danzig, right? The singer from the Misfits and the Danzig and the what was his other band? His goth band was Sam Hain. So he had Frank Frazetta licensed the character and hired some good artists. In this case, Liam Sharp, to make some stuff. And this was the original Frazetta painting on the cover. And this was really good stuff when it came out at the time. So to compare this,
love it,
to what we have today, let's see if it holds up under the Opus Studio. Because remember, this is many years later now. This is at least 10, 15 years later now. And Frank,
20 or so.
Yeah, right. Well, good question. Let's see what the date is here. I don't know if it's that much.
97.
Oh, wow, 96. You're exactly
Wow, I was only 1 year off. Yeah.
You're exactly right. So this is more than 20 years later. So now this is going to be Frank Frazetta's estate, and they're giving the green light to make comics out of their character by this company called Opus, who I never heard of before. I never heard of any of these names, but the art is done by Esau and Isaac Escorza, which sounds like they could be, overseas. Who knows? It's just a, Latino
Brazilian.
Name. Could be. We don't know for sure.
Argentinian.
And so there's a lot of plugs here for the Frazetta-verse on Discord, Incendium, Opus. I guess there's a whole community of people here. And this is a pretty good art. and story. We see the Death Dealer
Yeah.
is a recurring character who kicks ass, and here he's fighting the there's kind of like some adult themes here. They're calling the lady a whore and all that. Here's
Hmm.
a double page spread of an ice dragon fighting a fire horse in a sea of icicles. No, this is the idea. I don't know if I love this. This is a protracted fight scene with Death Dealer lopping off heads of ghouls and stuff. Um, but I guess if you're if you're following this a little more closely, this is a little taste. And so then here, this is kind of cool. These pinups where they're really trying to capture the Frazetta style, right? And they do a pretty nice job. So these are some cool paintings, or I don't know how they get there nowadays. This stuff might be done on tablet. This is a real Frazetta right here. But this is the cover, a recreation. And, you could always tell the real from the duplicate. Here, this is a duplicate, and some of the anatomy is a little weird. This isn't even straight.
Nice.
This isn't even straight here. I mean, it's pretty
It's
good
not
here,
supposed to be.
except this arm looks like it's not a realistic pose. And then here we can see some other Frank Frazetta. So the Frazetta franchises live on. This one is called Night of the Ghoul, put out by Dark Horse, #1, and $5.99. It's a pretty thick book. I'm just going to give a quick flip.
Jeez.
And pretty nice art. Night of the Ghoul Part 1. Look at this. And I'm again reminded of David Mazzucchelli. Is it me, or has this guy spawned an army of clones? In a good way.
No, I think he is he's solid. I mean,
Yeah,
if you're out there looking for somebody to follow in storytelling and comics, put him in your top 10 list.
So this was interesting because it looks like they're showing a movie here. So this looks like a movie within a comic, right? So
whoa, sounds familiar.
yeah, so let's see. We have this, and I get this. This is like the setup, and then they're showing this movie. That just kind of starts, right? And I wasn't sure until we got into this kind of like black and white sequences how much of it is. Oh, here, look. So they pull out the film reel to learn the truth about what happened to Night of the Ghoul and to you, right? This guy's all hooked up to machines and stuff. What happened? He goes, how much of it have you seen? And they show, settle in, everybody. We're going to be watching the Night of the Ghoul. This is a great setup. And so now we're in the movie, right? And I love this. I'm going to read this like later a lot more carefully. But then look what happens. The movie disintegrated, and there's just fragments here. So there's more to this story here, and here's like a poster, right, or show card, and I guess antics ensue where they keep going into the movie and back out of the movie. So that's really interesting because I'm trying to think about for our B movie She Devil, which is being written right now. Should we go in and out of the movie, or should we just present the movie and then do like an aftermath? So that this presents an interesting question. A lot of the pages here are just completely wasted. So I'm not. I mean, it's a thick book, but I'm not sure what the logic is there in just having these like title pages. It's just going to make this issue thicker and thicker without actually having anything there. But this is an interesting pickup, and I'm going to read this story a little more carefully, and I might go hunting down the rest of them because the art's good, and if the story is as inviting as I think, then it might be pretty cool. This is a table that I approached, and this guy was there with his son. I guess it was Ryan Dunleavy. Yeah, I think that was the guy. And he was the artist for all these books that he was selling for $1 a piece. So I said, no brainer, let's pick them all up. I bought all 5. And it looks like he's trying to lay out the history of the comic history of animation. And I guess he goes like right from the beginning all the way through. And being a classroom teacher, I said to myself, I definitely am going to buy this. I mean, for $1. This is going over some of the real early animation. Gertie the dinosaur was Winsor McKay. And you also have these early examples: the Yellow Kid, Thomas Edison, and Blackton. So I literally show my students these very early examples of animation. But there was a whole bunch of stuff going on in Asia hundreds of years ago where they had other techniques too. So I got this. This is issue number 2. I guess they're just bringing you through, the days. Here we're getting into the Fleischer Studios and Albert Einstein and all this. So it looks like a pretty good pickup. These books look like they're pretty thick. I think 32 pages, but they do have ads. This is put out by IDW Publishing. Are you familiar?
Yeah, they're going out of business.
Okay. Well, you could learn a lot about a publisher by looking at the ads in the back, but here they also were putting out Sea of Sorrows, Joe Hill, the Transformers, Usagi Yojimbo, and all these other kind of things. I guess these are like, Invisible Men is all about the trailblazing black artists, and this is all IDW. So they do books and comics. I guess this guy just keeps going through the eras of animation. Here we're getting into looks like Japanese animation, Gulliver's Travels, and I noticed that he never uses any actual samples from any actual creators like Disney or anything. So he didn't want to have to clear the rights or anything. He just kind of drew his own version of it. Looks like he's getting into Warner Brothers and all this stuff. And because there's a documentary or an educational component, this is all copyright fair use, copyright free. I usually show the original artwork to my students, but I'm a teacher in a classroom, so I have probably better claim to educational rights because I'm not making money on it other than just drawing my salary for educating kids. Here's another ad for some IDW doing Sonic the Hedgehog. Here's the Transformers, and again those other things. Here they're doing some Star Wars, Smuggler's Run miniseries. So this is Disney, and look, here they're doing Teenage Mutant Turtles. So IDW is doing a lot of licensed characters, and here's the last issue. They're going through Popeye and all that. So this is great stuff for me to leave laying around my classroom for kids. And I have a student in mind that she's kind of autistic, so she's gonna be digging into this stuff really carefully. Anime Conquers the World. This is just the last flip through. So yeah, this guy's creating, the artist is creating this stuff. IDW was putting it out, and I guess I'm assuming it didn't do that well because the guy's selling them for $1 a piece at his own tables. So he's probably left with some overflow and boxes of this stuff. Just guessing, either that or he's promoting it to try to get the word out. I got these for $1 a piece. These are X-Men classics. This is only interesting because it has an Adam Hughes cover, and this is recreating a cover from 1982. This was the original cover, so they put an Adam Hughes cover on it, and then they reprint these old X-Men from 1980s in the 1990s. This is about 10 years later, and I know you despise anything Marvel, but
no, I don't despise anything Marvel.
No.
That doesn't go on the record. No, there's just I'm very, very selective. There's just a very specific time period that I covet.
Yeah, well, me too. I'm not into Marvel during the 80s and 90s myself.
I just don't like superheroes.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
nothing about superheroes interests me.
It just got to be too much. I mean, did I show you?
It still is.
Yeah, there's too much. I mean, did I go over this with you on an episode? Yeah. I mean, it's just like how many years and decades are we just going to see Batman stories and Wonder Woman stories? How do you keep it fresh? That's the old, that's the question that I always ask is, how do you keep it fresh? Obviously they do, they publish and they publish and they publish, But those are all questions that I mean, when I was at the con yesterday, there was maybe five creators there who were either artists or writers with DC and Marvel credits. And those were the guys that were doing the lecture part. If you go up to the 10th floor at 10:30, they're going to do like an hour or an hour and a half lecture on how to make it in the comics business and everything. And what they were saying is that it's really tough. It was kind of pessimistic. They were saying, you know, um, you have to be ready at a moment's notice. You have to be very flexible. You might have to do a character that you don't want. But if you want to work for Marvel and DC, and you might have to do coloring and lettering, you might fancy yourself a penciler and a writer and all that. Sometimes they need a job. It's like half finished, and they just need you to come in and kind of like mop up because somebody wasn't able to finish and they got fired. So, there was all kinds of stories like that, and it was really grim, and it seemed like it was discouraging people in the audience. Like I was happy that I had a day job and I just do this for fun, rather than hearing these guys' stories about struggling to pay their mortgage. And, they're working for an advertising agency for 6 months at a time, and, I don't know. I mean, we all love comics and we're willing to, sacrifice a lot to do it. But they were, what they were saying, and these are guys, that were publishing, Batman, Supergirl, all this stuff, and they had, all these tough stories about, bouncing around for, going working for Marvel, then working for DC 10 years later, and everything in between. So, they do cons and they share their stories, and this is the reality, you know. This one I pulled just from my box, just because we had referenced this in our interview. People should check out with the creator of Jupiter. And when I asked him what was your favorite era of Kirby, because he's a Kirby aficionado that incorporates Kirby into his work. He said that it was probably these old Captain America stories from what was this, originally presented in Tales of Suspense '86. So I just had to agree. I just can't resist showing this, like all this robotics, all of this value on the page, the Kirby dots and the fires, and just how much is packed on here. It's just action, action, action. So I just need this mainlined into my veins. But that's going to be my report for today. Is that was my haul, and those are my thoughts about the state of play. So now we're going to switch to Kurt.
Yeah, so I have pulled the trigger on something that I've been holding off on only because I wanted to get a complete run. So, in using eBay's saving search, I did a save search for Cat and Mouse.
Mm-hmm.
It's an old 80s book. And the reason it's something of interest to me, I've never owned it. I never read it back in the 80s. I only came in contact with it because the artist is a personal favorite of mine. And I'll get into that when we find out.
Cat and Mouse,
Exactly it is. Now,
was that an indie? Do I remember? Am I remembering wrong?
yeah.
But was that like an air cell?
No, it is. Yes, it's an air cell.
I am remembering that, so I might have a con.
You are. So I got it's 18 issues, but it was missing issue 15, so that is on the way. But this was in. I mean, I got this for next to nothing. And
wait, so you bought
you
bought individual copies of floppy comics?
Nope. This is all. Nope. Well, yeah. This has not been put together in a trade collection. But the thing is that the writer creator, what is his name? Oh boy, where are you?
This is issue 1.
Roland Mann. He just did a couple of Kickstarters, kind of rebooting these characters. Now, the thing about it is the penciling artist is a guy by the name of Mitch Byrd. And he is, I think, a really, really extraordinary penciler in comics, indie, and storyteller. I don't want to go too much into him other than I'm going to be bringing some other materials out. He's a bit
Mm-hmm.
of a recluse. In other words,
Okay.
there's no direct contact with him anywhere.
Uh-huh.
You got to go through a comic book store in order to contact him.
Yeah.
But this is his original starting point, and I just wanted it. I just really, really had to have it. So, and this is one of those. It got started outside as a silver line
Mm-hmm.
for Cat and Mouse, and then it gets picked up by. Let me see if I get that. It gets picked up by Aircell,
Aircell.
and so this is 19. What is this? 90?
So did they start over with a number one again with Aircell?
I do not know. I actually know that this is a repeat, but I like it because of the black and white. So this is old school 80s black and white.
And Mitch Byrd is the
Um,
artist?
he is the penciling artist. Yeah. And then inks are Stephen Butler. You
So
need
I'm
inker, letterer, and plotter. That's a Paul Galassi cover too, by the way. You notice that one?
mm-hmm. So
So I'm just
I'm noticing on Comic Art Tracker that Mitch Byrd pages of original art sell anywhere from $200 to $500. They and then maybe as high as 2,000 for a cover, but interior pages are out and available. And he also worked with somebody named Ken Branch. I think that was his inker. He worked on Green Lantern. Um, and I see his style. He's got that kind of 80s thing where it's like it's getting a little cartoony. God, who does he remind me of? A little bit of Michael Golden. Michael Golden was so influential back then, right?
right.
I wonder if he was influenced by Michael Golden. But do you know those artists that were doing like Bucky O'Hare
Yeah.
so that's what that reminds me of. The way that they were doing the faces. Oh, and also that detective guy. Um I forget
Oh
the name of
yeah.
that
Oh, I just
detective
came across it too. Yeah.
because it
Oh
was
boy,
like
I'll
it
flash
was
it up on the screen because
yeah, it was a cartoony style, but it was also, pretty good
well rendered,
storytelling. Yeah, pretty well
very
rendered
well
and
rendered.
really good storytelling. So you don't mind the cartoony style, and it just becomes kind of like a personal style. So all that.
Yeah, this is just I can never get enough of just the classic 80s. And this is actually 1990. So, but the black and white and what you have to do in order to really do an only printing black and white comic, and it's from the get. And obviously, their uniforms are used for spotting blacks to kind of move you around. The linearness, just sound effects. It's just really, really done well, and I'm really excited to
Mauser,
have the whole thing.
Mauser.
Yes,
That.
yes, yeah, yep, yep.
Yeah, so
Um,
this is from an era, right? Definitely, there was Michael Golden, there was
I love it.
Mauser, there was all these guys floating around. So he's another one, and I remember Cat and Mouse, but I don't really pick any up. I might have one, but I don't know
Was
if
what it you had to make a decision, when you were, either I never did comic book pools other than maybe a couple of titles, but I just would go in the store knowing I had 20 bucks, and then, I would make my decisions. I'd go up to the desk and I'd have $40 worth of comics, and then that poor guy would have to wait for me to go, oh, I don't want this one. I want that one.
right,
I want this one.
right.
And a
That's
cat, and a cat. I used to do that to this poor guy, Greg. His name, Craig. Craig and Greg, they own different comic book stores. Anyhow, um, but I think maybe one or two got in here. It alluded to Ninja, which was always my fallback. But
Uh-huh.
by 90, I was getting artsy fartsy because I was in art school.
Yeah.
So I might have just been picking it up because it was only black and white and flipping through and seeing what it is I could get from it. I'm thoroughly excited about this and can't wait to just do a whole, um, just
Sit
a
down.
nice sit down. Yeah,
Is your
yeah.
is
But
your
Mitch
lighting
Byrd,
Mitch Burt, right? Yeah,
yeah,
he
I
was the
turned,
interior pencils. Do you
yeah,
do
I
you have good
turned.
do you have good lighting? Cause
See,
there you go.
I
Yeah,
turned my yeah.
much better now.
Sorry about
But
that, but it was so yeah. But I get the glare. That's the thing that I hate.
mm,
So,
yeah, well,
but
sometimes you gotta bounce it off something but yeah, it was a little
yeah, I
dark
got my
before.
yeah. I think I get the
So these
glare.
guys had a run of like 18 issues or so.
Yes, it was 18, and this is 18. And like I said, I'm missing 15. It's on its way. Um, but Mitch Byrd, he develops his style really out on his own. As I said, he one of the big sought afters of his is sketchbooks. SQR SRQ. What was it? SQ.
Oh, the
I
company,
can't remember what it.
yeah, the company that does
Yeah,
all
and they
the
used to do
sketchbook.
the they used to do those books. I'm actually trying to find if I still have that sketchbook of his. But I haven't looked that up, and I think on eBay or something, it's like 50 or $75 or something. But they did two more sketchbooks. He does like really rotund women, dinosaurs. Um, I really like his pacing, um,
Yeah, I
in
mean,
paneling and
if you're talking about 18 issues, that is really sticking with a title. And,
yeah,
you could see by those pages that they had a definite flow going between the writer and the artist, where he was just cranking out these pages and carrying the story. And, they have it all lettered. And, that's a name. So Cat and Mouse are, it's a male and a female, or how does that work?
yes, yeah,
Cat? Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
I don't know much. I don't know much. Burglars that start out
Uh-huh.
and then end up hero types or
Okay.
espionage. I'm actually, like I said, it was just something I do these searches for, and then I'm like, oh, well, let me see if it's on eBay. There's 18 ish. Okay, I'll see if I can get it for next to nothing. Um, and this came up. And what helped me pull the trigger was the sort of teaser copy, that came out. This one here. So
Right.
I was like, ooh, that's kind of nice.
Yeah, and
And it's
when
interesting because it goes from color. They get a color run, and then they do 18 issues, story run, black and white. So, and
amazing,
some guest
yeah,
appearances, guest appearanrances on there. So,
yeah. Well, when they
as
hook
I go
up,
through it, if I find something really interesting, I'll bring it out as a deeper dive looking into. But I just wanted to show that off, and even
very
surprise myself
interesting.
on camera.
Yeah, so you did an unboxing, and we have some history here. The cat and mouse. They did get hooked up with Aircell, which was a bigger concern than the Silver Line, which was probably just the person or the whoever owned the IP. Um, they get a nice logo. They get some guest cover artists. And then they get put on a track where they're cranking out issue after issue for years, right? 18 issues. I don't know how many years that spans, but um, Cat and
Let me
Mouse is
see
something.
what. Let me see what the last one.
Yes,
Let me
Cat
see
and
what
Mouse
the
is
last
something I
issue.
never really
Yeah.
dug into because you know the the uh the art was good, the interior art was good, but it wasn't these like slam me over the head good guys like Neil Adams or Bear or all of these other names. But you do have to appreciate the longevity, and
Crap.
there's got to
91. They put this out every month.
really.
Yep,
Really?
91, September 91. So that's January 90 to September 91, I think is what it goes.
They
Something
put
like
out
that. But yeah, they
18 issues between.
bam, 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 bam. Yep. That's some hardcore there's very few people in any time in comics independent of Marvel and DC that can actually say that they did that.
Right
That's
on.
professional. That's professionalism beyond expectation. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, yeah.
And they had
Kudos to
so
them.
so they had a separate pencil and a separate inker, right?
Yeah, yeah. You got a writer,
Okay.
plotter,
Yeah, so the
pencil.
one guy, he was doing like
Big
what is it,
deal.
25 pages, 28 pages of pencils, handing it over to the inker.
25. This one's 25. Some of these issues are a little bit thicker. There's a couple in here that are a little thicker than 25. I don't know if
Yeah,
it's the paper.
this is an
It's
accomplishment that
exciting,
you
huh?
do not see nowadays, right?
No, no.
Cat and
Oh, here's
mouse.
one. This one goes to
Interesting.
backup 10, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I got. I will keep everybody tuned in to how I feel about it. As story goes.
Right.
I kind of like. I have a male female team story. I've been sort of dibbling and dabbling with, and I kind of like this ninja feel.
Uh-huh.
So I'm not applying that's what the story is about, but I'm hoping it is to give me some ideas and some help in putting my own thing together. So, but that's
Right.
what I got, Jake.
Yeah, man, and this was my stack, and that's my haul from the convention yesterday, and that was Kurt going through kind of a retrospective on the cat and mouse run with Aircel. So tune in next time for another episode of Comics That Influence Us as we go over the pros and cons and all the interesting things that we can take away from other comics as we create our own comic. Turbo Pit Fighter. This is our other channel, and this is just a little preview, black and white print, home printed preview of our comics as it's in production. But you can check out our binge watch page and see all of our episodes of that. You can see our Commandy series, and you can see our Comics That Influence series right back here. So till next time, Kurt.
All right. We'll see you next week, Jake. Have a good one.
Peace, my friend.